Welcome everybody to the first episode of PastyT Gaming. In this episode we're going to be leveling a mage. As you can see, I picked an undead mage male because they have the best dance, and you'll see that as soon as we log in. I'm on a PvP server because this is reminiscent of my first time playing WoW, and with WoW Classic it is exactly how it felt like playing for the first time. Now, as a disclaimer, I did start out with Burning Crusade being the expansion that was out at the time. It was pretty new, so I did get a basic vanilla experience. This is a little bit different, but for the most part it's the same experience that the vanilla players played before Burning Crusade came out. Again, I've leveled a mage, undead male, on a PvP server, so I'm going to try to recreate that for y'all right now. Granted, I do know more about the game than I did when I first started, so this isn't going to be the exact same experience that we had the first time around, but for the most part this will be completely unassisted. No guild, no higher level characters that can go farm gold or items or anything like that to help me out. This is purely me solo leveling up how it would normally go, and you get to experience this with me. So as you can see, the character's name is Pasty-T, much like the content that you're going to be watching on this channel. So if you would like, let us start this journey, and we begin. Now, I'm not going to bore anybody with the opening scene, so we're going to skip right through that cinematic, but we will be going through basically every single quest. I'm going to be leveling 2 professions of skinning and herbalism because they do seem to have the best yield of money. Also, then I don't have to worry about leveling up some sort of profession like tailoring or armor smithing or anything like that that's kind of crazy expensive. All right, as you can see, I have some mods. We're using Titan panel basically for the most part. We also have, let me move all this stuff around, Atlas loot. We have bartender, deadly boss mods, questy. So these are just some basic quality of life mods that we have on there. As you can see, we have Tom Tom. Over here we have an aggro meter, and this is basically to see what the health is of the enemy that I'm fighting. Some of this stuff isn't really useful right now. It's just things that I've learned to play with my other tunes. I do have some alliance characters, which we may get to if y'all decide that you want to see that content as well. But for right now, we're gonna stick with just this tune, this character on this realm, and go from there. Let's go ahead and set up our interface options. We want auto loot because that just makes it completely nice to, I hate manually looting everything. Alright, the other thing we do is on social, I'm going to block guild invites, I'm going to block chat channel invites. If any of y'all are familiar with original WoW, I think all the way through maybe, I don't know, Wrath of the Lich King, there were a terrible number of gold farmers that would spam you, and they would always whisper, and a lot of that's been kind of taken care of, but now they have this thing where they can invite you to their channel as opposed to just immediately inviting you to like a website where you can buy gold, because Blizzard poo-poos that idea. But there are ways to buy gold. There are still things like that out there. I don't recommend it because if they find out you're doing that on Classic, they will ban your account. So if you have a lot of time invested into this and you make a mistake such as that and you get banned, then it's kind of like, sorry, sucks to be you. But we won't do that. Obviously, in retail, WoW, Battle of sorry, they allow gold buying through tokens and that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of people, but that economy is a little bloated right now anyways. I mean, people are able to buy million gold mounts and all that kind of stuff, so nobody's really buying gold. They're mainly just buying tokens with gold that they accumulate in the game. So okay, I think I have that all set up. Move this over here, of course, set that there. I need to lock that. This is basically just for me to see where my... Okay. So now I go to bartender. Sorry. The first video is going to be about 20 minutes long. A lot of it's just going to be setting up, and then also I'm going to be leveling up as much as I can. This isn't a pro quick level guide, anything like that. This is a very casual walkthrough where you can see where, you know, kind of like how to level, just, you know, following me on this journey sort of thing. So, all right, I think we're ready to go. All right, so the armor, I don't need that because default you can use T to auto attack, so we don't need that actually on our bar. But I'm gonna get our first quest giver. I think I've turned hints off, so you won't see, like, normally, like, when you first play the game, there'll be a little deal. It'll have a question mark. It'll tell you, oh, okay, this is what you do. Anybody with an exclamation point over their head is a quest giver, and they're gonna give you stuff to do where you can earn, you know, gold. You can earn experience. So the other cool thing about this is that when you're low level, everything gives you crazy amount of experience. You can see one guy gave me 10%, so that's just insane. So what I like to do is I pretty much just level off these simple creatures until I'm like level 2 or 3, because it just makes it so much easier. And as you can see, like, your mana pool is extremely low. That's okay, because that'll increase drastically. You'll have other things like gems and potions and evocation that you can use to get your mana back, but for now we basically just use fireball. So yeah, 3 guys in, almost 40%, over 40%. That's pretty good. We're just gonna do this, and then we're gonna go get the quest. Now, the thing that really sucks about starting a brand new character is bag space. You have absolutely no bag space. As you can see, I just have a backpack, 16 slots, and there is nothing in here. So I mean, you can see I've only killed 4 guys, and my bags are almost full. So it's really hard to manage all of your bag space, but you eventually can buy more bags. People are pretty generous when they sell. Silk bags are normally pretty low. I don't know how this server is as far as the economy, but you do get a chance to buy bags later on. The ones that are expensive are your 16, 18 slot bags. Those tend to be a lot more expensive, and we're talking like 6-10 gold, that kind of stuff. So it's advantageous to just kind of understand that you're gonna have to go back and dump, you know, your gray items. Now, for those of you that haven't played World of Warcraft, I do recommend it. It's a very fun game. There's a lot to do. You have a pretty decent community. There are some toxic members, but that's any community. But I would say for the most part, you have people that do enjoy helping out, and for the most part, it's very entertaining. Huge time sink. I would recommend though that if you have like friends that you play with, that y'all try to play together, because that does make it more fun. When I first started off, there's some people that I knew that played, and we would team up occasionally, but for the most part, it was solo. So as you can see, the zombie resisted 2 of my spells, and that's kind of a huge hit, because not only do you do 0 damage, but you waste all of the mana that you would normally spend on a spell to attack them. So that's pretty bad. It's very detrimental on bosses, elites, anything that you're trying to really attack and you want to manage your mana efficiently. Resist is a giant waste of time. So as you can see, I leveled up, which is the iconic whoosh and the gold around me, and leveling up is awesome. Even at the early stages, when these levels are free, basically, it's just awesome to see a level. And people like to celebrate levels. So if you're at like a quest hub and you level up and other people are around, you oftentimes get like claps or cheers or people saying, "Oh, grats." especially when you hit milestones. Level 40 is a milestone. That's the level that you can train for your writing skill, which increases your run speed by 60%. So that's really, really helpful. Level 60 is the max level in Classic. Burning Crusade, they increased it to 70, and then each expansion went up by 5 or 10 levels depending on the expansion. And now with Shadowlands coming out, they're going to actually do what they're calling a squish, and your max level will be 60, I believe. And so people that are level 120 will go back down to 50, and then they'll level 60. But we will see how that works out. Apparently it's going to make the leveling experience a lot better. Hopefully more reminiscent of Classic. I do remember leveling in Classic and you know, Vanilla being very exciting. Each level was extremely significant, and I feel like that's what they're trying to re-emulate. Alright, so we're done with the mindless zombies, so now we need to go for the wretched zombies. So as you can see, the zombie names are yellow, which means that they are not aggressive. Basically, I can walk near them and it won't matter. They don't auto attack me. If they were red, that means that if I were to get within a aggro range or proximity of their tune, then they would automatically begin to attack me. And you'll find later that outside of like starting zones, most enemies are red. So as you can see right now, I changed to red because I attacked him, so that means he's aggressive towards me. Alright, so I'm getting a lot of gear that's not for me, which is fine, because it's sellable. But that means that after I kill 4 more of these guys, I'm going to have to sell all my gear that I can't use to clear backspace. Alright, let's see. Another thing you'll notice on this left side down here, there's kind of a bunch of text that's floating around. It'll give you information on how much gold you've collected, how much your stats have gone up, defense, staves, all that kind of stuff. So basically what that means is that each time you level, your skill, and I'll show this, but your skill cap will increase by 5. And to be an efficient player, especially for those of you that are a melee class, you want to have your weapon skills maxed out. So if you go to your character tab and then you go to your skills tab, what you'll see is these are the skills that I'm at right now. So of the skills that I have, you know, my defense is 8 out of 10 and my stabs is 9 out of 10. Go from there. For mages, you can see that their armor proficiency is only cloth. You never get to use anything else. Other characters, other tunes like warriors will get to use any armor proficiency. And then also you have the languages, so you can understand. Gutterspeak is zombie language, and then Orcish is your basic like overall horde language. But there are like trolls and there are Tauren and that kind of stuff, and we won't be able to understand like Tauren speak, for example. Alright, so let's see. I need 2 more of the wretched zombies. There's one. So another thing you can do, instead of clicking on the actual monster that you want to fight, you can hit tab and it will locate the closest monster that's in your eyesight. So like this guy, for example, I hit tab, it auto targets him, and that's an easy way to shift between targets. Or if you are running and you're not necessarily going to be panning around with your cursor, you can, you know, target them that way too. Alright, so we are done with that quest. We're going to turn it in, probably gain another level, because I only need 260 experience to gain another level. I forget what these actually give me, but
I am forsaken.
let's see. What is the best? This is the best. So the early levels, really getting gold for the gear that you would get from a quest is not important. You would rather have better gear because it would help you survive longer. Survivability is a big thing because dying is very unforgiving in this game. Not only do you have to run a really, really long time because there are very minimal graveyards, but you have to, you lose 10% of your armor, what do they call that? Durability? Yeah, so like this durability is 35 out of 35. If I were to die, it would go down by effectively 4 points, which isn't necessarily a big deal, but if you die multiple times, especially in dungeons, then it starts to get really expensive. And tanks oftentimes get irritated because their repair bill is multiple gold, and so it doesn't seem like a good use of their time. So we'll go from there. So warriors definitely don't want to be stuck with huge repair bills, especially if it's something like you have a player that does a bad pull or that kind of stuff.
What do you require?
Alright, so we have Mage Trainer. I can learn Arcane Intellect, which is the main mage buff that you get. Anybody that is a mana user will want Intellect. As you can see, the very first level gives me +2 Intellect, which gives you, I believe it's 15 mana per Intellect point. So 30, you can see here in your tips. So Intellect gives you increased mana points and chance to score a critical hit with spells. Easy, even for the melee users, rogues, and warriors that don't have any mana, you have an increase at which you can learn weapon skills, which is really important because if you are stuck with a weapon that you have no skill to, then you just miss every single attack, and that's painful. So you want to learn weapon skills as fast as you can.
I have exactly what you need.
Alright, so most of the time, an armor or weaponsmith, something like that, you'll find that they can repair your items. So this anvil will repair your items. They're also a good source to be able to sell all of your stuff. So I'm going to get rid of all these items that I don't need. Most of the time, gray stuff is only good to sell to a vendor. So that's all gone. I guess we'll hide my bag slots. I don't really need to see those right now. So as you can see here, now I have 13 of 16 slots. And this is bag-on, add-on. Most of the time, you'll just see a different interface. So if you play completely vanilla, then a lot of this stuff isn't going to look the same. But for me, since I played through a whole bunch, having this interface just makes it a little bit easier to organize. It's visually better. You can see everything at once. All right. Another cool thing about Titan Panel is up here, you kind of have your statistics. So you can see that I've been getting about 4,400 experience per hour, which obviously goes down. You know, you can see it ticking down as I'm just sitting idle. Time to level 42 seconds, and that's just based on the experience per hour and that kind of stuff. How much gold I have total. You can see that it's every character that I would have on this server, my backspace, durability of my items, and whenever an item gets damaged, it'll populate on here the approximate value, what it would cost to repair it. So it's just kind of neat. You can see all that different stuff just readily available instead of having to click through. It's the same information that you would have, you know, available through your menuing. It's just, you know, right there to where you can just hover your mouse over and it's not a big deal. Alright. Now we have to kill scavenger paws, dusk bat wings. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to collect scavenger paws and dust bat wings, but we have to kill rattle cage skeletons. So 12 of these guys have got to go. And then we have to collect items from wolves and bats. And in the early game, you'll find that drop rate on items is pretty good. So there you go, another level, another ding. It's really satisfying. And as you can see, with each level, you gain different hit points, mana points. You also gain different stats. And for mages, these are the important ones. Stamina obviously increases your health pool, intellect increases your mana pool, and then spirit is a passive effect where when you are out of combat, for most players, you can spec into it otherwise, but when you're out of combat, you'll actually get health and mana regen. So the higher your spirit, the more of that you regen per second. Very, very helpful for mana classes. The health portion of it's not a huge deal. You won't see like a warrior stack spirit, for example. Oh, there we go. So that was a critical attack, and basically what that means is that your attack has a chance to crit very, very low when you're low level, but you can obviously get gear to make it better. But you do double damage, and it's very satisfying when you get a crit. Now, not satisfying when you're in a group and you get a crit, and then all of a sudden you pull aggro on a character. But what are we at? 20 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and make this first episode a little bit longer because a lot of it's just been me talking about the basics of the game, and I feel like there hasn't been as much gameplay, especially with this stuff being very, very simple. But we're gonna go ahead and make this about half an hour. If you want to see longer videos, please let me know. I'm going to keep them all to about 20 minutes or so, just so that they're kind of easy to digest. Nothing too crazy that you have to devote a lot of time to or come back to, because I know people oftentimes will just have, time to look at 15-20 minutes of a video. But please let me know if you want to see longer videos, different content. I'm going to be leveling this character all the way to 60. I don't really plan on doing huge like raids and in-game guild like content. It's kind of not my thing. I enjoy leveling a whole lot more than I enjoy sitting in groups and waiting for raids and all that kind of stuff. But who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind. I do have multiple 60s on another server, so we can visit those at one point. But I feel like this series would be nice to just see a basic run through of an undead mage going from level 1 to level 60. And kind of all the intricacies of what that entails. So please let me know if this content is something that you would like to continue to see. The videos will be out there, but if there's something else that you would like to see, like for example, me going into heavy PvP, which I'm going to go ahead and let you know now, I'm not very good at. There are people that are very, very competitive with PvP, but that's not me. So we'll go from there. But yeah, basically you have the starting area and it teaches you how to use your character. You learn very, very minimal skills. You just kind of get like an overall idea of the gameplay. What enemies do what your spells do, how to keep yourself from, dying on one attack. And then once you venture out, eventually you'll start getting into worlds that are much, much more dangerous. Not only because the enemies are more dangerous, but because since this is a PvP server, if there are any Alliance characters near me, then they can just automatically attack me. And a lot of them do, especially when it comes to catching you off guard. And Horde's the same way. Like, I'm not going to say like Alliance are the only ones that are petty, but any opposing faction character, if they see you, especially if you are fighting a monster like this, for example. Obviously I'm distracted, my mana pool is really low, and they would just come take advantage of that and start attacking me because now I have to fight on two fronts because the monster doesn't care. The monster just thinks that I'm harming it, so it needs to, reciprocate. But if an Alliance character would come attack me right now, I'd pretty much be screwed. And that's a lot of the effect. Catching you off guard obviously gives them a big advantage. So you'll see that later. We might even participate in that a little bit, just because the other thing is it's hard to tell if somebody's friendly. There are different emotes, as you can see, like here, like sit or dance. Oh yeah. So this is the reason why I picked an undead mage male. Because I don't know, for some reason, like, that dance just really is hilarious to me. And I felt like that's the best dance in the game, personally. You can argue with me if you want. Like, leave in the comments if you want, if you think a different dance is better. But me, personally, that's my favorite dance, so that's the one that I picked. And the male and female dances are different. So if you were to pick a female undead, you would not get that same dance. Can't remember exactly what theirs is, but it is different. Like, for example, the human female dance has part of the Macarena in it, and it's hilarious, but I feel like it's just kind of cheesy. But yeah, so that's I know picking undead for a dance isn't necessarily the best reason to pick a character. Oh, they also have this really cool thing, Will of the Forsaken. This is extremely overpowered for early game because it's a crowd control break. Basically, like if you know, as you're reading it, anytime I'm charmed, feared, or sleep, put to sleep, then I can use this and it'll take me out of that status, and that's extremely effective because fear and charm, those are two abilities that warlocks use, and priests also use fear, and warriors also have a fear, but warlocks and are notorious for fearing and charming because they're one of their pets can charm. But so basically that takes me out of that status, and that's extremely helpful. And it's only a 2-minute cooldown. Like that's awesome. 2 minutes is nothing in this game. But undead also have the ability, to breathe underwater because they're. Oh, I guess it lasts 300 times longer. 300%. Oh wow, that must have been something that's different. Okay, so that must have been something that changed. Basically, that means that like my underwater health or underwater breathing is 3 times longer, which is nice. Because there are some quests where you have to go into boats and you have to kind of go into the bowels of the ship, and you have to fight multiple enemies, and it can take a long time, and you can drown. And drowning is very, very painful because you basically start losing health at a very high rate. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's like 20% per tick. So that's kind of crazy, but I would say that having more underwater capabilities is just awesome. There are potions that give you underwater breathing for a certain amount of time, and then there are skills. Warlocks have an underwater breathing skill that they learn, so that's helpful too. But for players that don't have access to those, being an undead is definitely an advantage. Alright, so we've collected all of our paws and bats. So there's another character right there. It might just be running straight to the town. So another thing about this game in Classic is that you are very limited on space. Even if you were to have all of your bank filled up with bags that are high volume, and all of your bags here high volume, you would still be limited to 300 slots, and that fills up very, very quickly, especially in the later game when everything is a quest item and you need tons of potions on you and all these other things to kind of buff you up while you're running through high level dungeons. And so people will create bank alts, and basically they'll just create a character that just has more bag space, and so you can mail yourself items that you don't need or that you want to sell, say on the auction house, and that character will just have their bag space filled up with the items that you don't need on your character running around. Very, very helpful, and you can do that with multiple characters. Of course, you're limited. You can only have, I think, 8 tunes per server. But either way, it's helpful to have all that extra space. In retail version, you have a reagent bag, and I think it's 100 slots that you can put in different stuff for, like skinning or tailoring or herbalism, that kind of stuff. So that's extremely helpful to have that space available, but you don't get that luxury. Oh, I'm not done. Cool. Now we're done with these, I'm gonna go turn them in. Probably gonna gain another level since I'm really close, less than 10%, which is awesome. We might just kill guys until that. I always find it more satisfying to gain a level fighting enemies than turning in a quest, just because, like, for me, it seems like I earned it more. Plus, while I said, like, a lot of other characters, when they see level, they want to, like, cheer and all that kind of stuff, I feel like these levels, it's not necessary because they're extremely easy. I mean, as you can see, like, I haven't even had any trouble dying, or, I mean, had any trouble, like, fighting the enemies. So, it's basically a freebie. Yay! Alright, so that's level 4. So one of the cool things about leveling is you gain more skills the higher levels you get, but it's only on even number levels. So now that I'm level 4, I can probably gain, talk to the mage trainer right here, get some more skills. And as you can see, conjure water, extremely important, and frostbolt, also extremely important, but I don't have enough gold. So, sell all this stuff and I may have enough gold. Let me turn in these items.
Embrace the shadow.
Quickly. Goodbye.
Right. Then we go sell this stuff. Maybe I'll have a silver. If not, it's not a huge deal. Conjure water is definitely more important. So mages have this cool thing where you can conjure water and you'll eventually get conjured food, and then you get different ranks of those as you level up. And what those do is basically you just have unlimited food and water on you at all times.
Beware the living.
Mages in early game have often been considered vending machines because of this ability to just create food and water, especially at higher levels, for the party, and that way the people that are in your party don't have to use their own purchased items. So, alright, we have enough to level, or to learn Frostbolt. So I'm going to level this character as a Frost Mage, not only because I just find the mechanics of the Frost Mage to be more fun for me, but it helps when you're leveling against multiple enemies. You have much more crowd control capabilities that are much more, I guess, available? Nah, that's the word. It's just easier for you to have that ability. Because as you can see right here, just the default Frostbolt, it does less damage than the Fireball. See, 15 to 24, and this is 18 to 20. But it slows their movement by 40% for 5 seconds. So you can do what they call kiting, where you attack an enemy and they are slowly coming towards you, and then you can back up and then you can re-attack them. And essentially what you want to do is keep your distance away from that enemy to the point to where they could never reach you to physically damage you. And it gets harder because a lot of times this effect doesn't always hit, or they can resist it, or they are immune to immobilization effects. So that kind of stuff can be problematic, but for the most part it's pretty reliable. You also get other spells later on, and we'll touch on those once that happens, but that help your crowd control better. And this blank spot right here is where you will your talent trees will come into play, and at level 10 you can start speccing in your talent points, and we'll get into that when I hit level 10, maybe in the next episode or two, we'll see. But either way, that is it for the introduction. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and please let me know if you want to see different stuff in the comments. After we level this character to 60, I'm really open to leveling other characters or trying different stuff, whether it be with this character, different server, or whatever. So let me know. Alright, thanks everybody.